Thank you for tuning into the Generational Gauntlet Top 5 Faves. This is the podcast where we give you our top 5 on a topic with a generational twist to it. My name is Matt Lambert, and I'm the host of this podcast. Each week, I bring in a guest who's from a different generation than me to discuss or debate our top 5 on a selected topic. If you've listened to previous episodes of this podcast, you'll know that my family is big into animals, especially dogs. Back in 2021, we adopted one of our dogs, Minnie, from Charleston Animal Society in North Charleston, South Carolina. And since that time, Charleston Animal Society has played a pretty big role in my family's life, as they're more than just an animal shelter, but they offer a ton of educational and other services to the community. And through those interactions, we have had the privilege of getting to meet Kylie Wiest, who's today's guest. Kylie is the Humane Education Manager at Charleston Animal Society. She's a fellow millennial and, hands down, one of the kindest people you'll ever get the opportunity to meet. So, Kylie, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to hop on here. How have things been going your way?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me and for your kind words. But yeah, things have been going great, and I'm excited to talk more about Charleston Animal Society and really thankful you asked me to do this.
Well, I'm excited to hear the things that you have to offer about your organization because you all do some incredible work. And as listeners of the podcast know, sometimes we switch things up. Instead of jumping into our top 5 first, we'll do some discussion on the front end, and that's how this episode is going to work. So, Kylie, as I mentioned, you're the Humane Education Manager at Charleston Animal Society down here in South Carolina. And before we talk about the organization as a whole, how long have you been in your role, and what got you into working with animals?
Yeah, so I have officially been with Charleston Animal Society for just over 9 years now.
Okay.
Um, I've been a part of the education team the whole time, but I've kind of moved up. So when I moved down here in 2017, I knew I wanted to work at Charleston Animal Society, but there was only contract positions available. So
Hmm.
originally I was hired to just do birthday parties on a contract basis. Then I got a seasonal position when summer camp opened to be a camp counselor, and then from there, I guess they thought I did a good job because then I got a full-time job and then later got promoted to manager, so yeah. And what got me into working with animals, this is probably a little cheesy, but it's true. When I was in college, I was thinking of going the teacher route. Specifically,
Hmm.
I was interested in teaching ESL. So
Oh,
that was
nice.
kind of what my studies were around in college. But then, when I was little, all I ever wanted was a pet, and I was not allowed to have one. And so my senior year, I actually got a kitten. His name is Leon. He just turned 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I just fell madly in love, and, like, I had always known I loved animals, but he really, like, changed my life, as corny as
Hmm.
that sounds, and I was like, "How can I find a way to do what I had already been thinking of doing, but also incorporate animals and help them?" And that's kind of where I found humane education.
Okay, that is not cheesy at all. That is an awesome story, and I love how you got into this. And one of the other things I love is just your all's organization. Being from another state, I can say that when my family went to Charleston Animal Society for the first time, we were blown away by both the size and the number of services that you all provide to the community. So, can you speak to that? Generally, what does Charleston Animal Society do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll preface it by saying we're very fortunate. We have an amazing community who supports
Mhm.
us, and that allows us to do all of the amazing things that we do. But I guess if we start big picture, you'll always hear our CEO say our mission from the beginning has always been the prevention of cruelty to animals. So that's
Yeah.
where kind of the basis of everything kind of lies. But then, from there, we want to save all healthy and treatable animals. We want to see a world where people and animals are treated with respect and kindness, and a world where cruelty is not tolerated. So that's like big picture, mission, vision,
Hmm.
what we want. And then the strategies to do that. I mean, day to day, we are an animal shelter. So we are a place for animals who don't have another place to go. So we take in animals that need us, whether they're lost or being rehomed or have had a rough start. And we give them all the care that they need, from very basic things to, some animals get very advanced medical procedures and whatnot, just making sure they get everything they need. And then once they have had all their series of things done with us, medical behavior, all of that, then they get cleared for adoption, and then we serve as a place for the community to come and hopefully find a companion to add to their family. So that's just the basic shelter, and then we're largely based in, from an animal welfare perspective, prevention strategies. So, what can we do as an organization and for our community to prevent animals from coming through our doors? We
Hmm.
don't actually want to get animals. I think a misconception, like when our shelter is empty, that's a good thing. That means animals are in homes and not living in a cage. So some of those prevention strategies, spay and neuter is probably one of the biggest. So any animal who comes through our doors will be spayed and neutered before they leave. And then we also offer that to the public at a discounted cost in order to encourage the public to spay and neuter their pets as well, so that we're not having unwanted babies being born. We'll also do TVAR, which is for feral cat colonies,
Hmm.
where we will trap, vaccinate, alter, and return them. Again, this is just to help prevent the overpopulation problem that we have globally, but especially here in the South. And then we do also like to provide community resources. So, from helping other shelters throughout the country, especially other shelters in South Carolina, but then also just having a resource center for people in our local community if they have needs for their pets. And of course, I know we'll talk about this later too, but of course, our humane education is also a prevention strategy of helping this wider animal welfare issue to get better than where it's at right now.
Well, that's the perfect segue. So, as your role, where you're the humane education manager, like what does that mean and what do you do specifically for the organization?
Yeah, so humane education is one of those terms that a lot of people don't recognize, but really all it is we're based in empathy and kindness and
Hmm.
compassion. So, yes, we teach kids how to be kind to animals and to learn about animals, but it's so much more than that. We're really hoping to instill these values and these feelings that inspire kids to leave whatever program it is that they had with us and
Hmm.
want to be active in it, right? Wanting to advocate for animals on their own and feeling that they do have the capability to do that. So, we have a wide range of different programs, but all of them, when you get down to that nitty gritty, it's really just about that developing this compassion for animals, for other people, and really hoping that we nurture that at a young age so that this child grows up to be an adult who treats animals with kindness and maybe is a little bit better of a pet owner or makes better choices when they're getting animals, so that we can ultimately help the overpopulation and animal welfare crisis that we have, but also just so that we have kinder human beings on the planet, because I think we could use some more of that.
100% agree with you on that. And I know my daughter has went through several of your all's programs, and she's spoken so highly about all the things you all do and how incredible of a job you all do with that. And I know you said a big focus is like building that empathy, making them, have that empathy for animals, be good human beings. Is there any other like takeaways or things that kids learn if they go through these educational programs?
Yes, there's so much, and I won't take up too much time with telling you everything, but we have so many different themes in our programs, and we do camps, and every week
Hmm.
is a different theme, and we go into classrooms, and if the teacher gives us a specific theme, that's what we're gonna talk about. But I'll say, like, most important, in my opinion, things that we can teach, like, outside of your kindness and empathy and that kind of stuff. Number 1 is gonna be animal safety, especially when it comes to body language. So,
Gotcha.
really teaching kids the perspective, having them put themselves in an animal's shoe, and thinking what that might be like for them when you rush up and you rub your hands in their face because you're so excited that they're so cute and you wanna pet them, but how how might that make the animal feel, right? And how do we know how the animal's feeling? What are they doing with their body to maybe tell us that they do or do not like that? Because, studies show that I think it's, like, over 70% of dog bites, particularly that happen, are to young children, and they're usually not strange animals. Usually, they're the animals that they share their home with, and so what that tells us is, there's probably a bond there. It's not that this animal that lives in a home with a human doesn't like them. So there's some type of miscommunication that's happening. And it's usually just us as humans not recognizing how animals are feeling and taking that into consideration when we're having these interactions. So, like the safety, the body language thing is probably one of the most important things that if I have an interaction with a kid, that's something I really want them to take away for both their safety and the safety of the animals that they interact with. But then we also do all kinds of other things. We do a lot of science.
Hmm.
STEM is so important right now, and having kids come for our vet programs. And we have a veterinary crisis in the US as a whole. So we're really hoping to inspire some kids to want to grow up and be vets and work in that field because there's definitely a need for it. So we do a lot of vet programs, a lot of overpopulation, kind of what I talked about already, but teaching them about spaying and neutering and that kind of stuff. And then just any way we can inspire them to be advocates, whether that's hands-on things that they're making to help the animals or just teaching them really cool things about animals so that they're like, wow, that being is cooler than I thought it was. Now I want to help it. So yeah,
And so with all these programs, these I assume people can find these if they go to the website, correct?
they
So you
can,
okay,
absolutely.
nice.
Yep, charlestonanimalsociety.org, and there's a kids tab.
And I will be in the episode description for this episode and then on my socials for Facebook and Instagram. We'll be posting the links or the link for Charleston Animal Society. So all the stuff that Kylie's talking about, you'll be able to find that. And something else that I know you do, you all do birthday parties for kids at the facility as well. It's my understanding that's an option as well, correct?
We do, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is one I'll talk a little bit about from experience. So when my family first moved down here, we moved down here in the middle of COVID and trying to, you're in a new place, you're trying to do something for your kid for their birthday. And I think our daughter was turning 7 at the time. We wanted to do something fun, but safe. We didn't want to go to a really crowded area and big parties were out. And you all came in clutch for providing such a great experience for her. So, and Kylie, if any of these details I give are incorrect, obviously correct me. But when we came through the facility, my daughter got to meet some of the dogs. She got to meet, I think, one of the kittens, the bunny that was at the shelter that I think is part of your all's education program.
Yep.
She actually got to name one of the dogs that was in the shelter, got to pick a name out. She got to take home a stuffed animal and then just learn about the facility. And she loved every part of it. We were blown away at how cool of an experience it was. And honestly, one of the things that made that experience so fantastic was Kylie. She was just amazing with our daughter. We actually came back for another birthday after that. And funny enough, I think 2 weeks after we met you, Kylie, we came back to the shelter to adopt one of our dogs. So we fell in love with the facility so much that day that we came back and got a dog a couple weeks later who we did not intend to get. We came to just see who you all had in the shelter, and we fell in love with our dog, and best dog I've ever had. So, anything I'm giving incorrect on your all's birthday parties that you all have at the facility?
No, that was wonderful, and thank you so much for your kind words again. And I remember Nora's birthdays, and she was so lovely. But yeah, those are so we have multiple packages. During
Hmm.
COVID, that was the only one that we offered. It was that like individual
Yeah.
one-on-one. And we have expanded now, so we do have two other like group party
Okay.
options. So there are a couple different options if they want to invite their friends. That's awesome when we know kids, love to have their friends too, but I will say that, the individual experience, the one that Nora did, is probably my favorite thing to come out of COVID because we had to
Yeah.
change completely what we were doing, and that was something invented for COVID that we decided to keep, you know?
Yeah.
We brought back the group parties, but we were like, "I wanna keep this individualized experience," because if you do have a kid that just really, really loves animals,
Mhm.
that's the route I would tell you to take because there's just so much one-on-one, and it just allows you to have more conversation and not as much of the chaos as a normal party and everything, but definitely more animal interactions come along with that,
Yeah.
so that's a
I
benefit.
I can say I have a lot of good memories, a lot of good photos. I was actually looking at some old photos as I was prepping for this episode, and I was like, one, she was so little, and two, it was such a cool experience. And Kylie, I know there are a lot of people out there who want to help organizations like Charleston Animal Society. And what are some things that people can do to help your all's organization?
Yeah, there are so many ways to help and to get involved.
Hmm.
Obviously, donations. We are a nonprofit, so I do have to say that, anything, and that doesn't necessarily mean money either. We use so many supplies, even things that people have laying around their house, like, old towels and old comforters that they don't use anymore. We go through that kind of stuff so quickly because, as you can imagine, it gets destroyed very quickly, but it's always needed. But treats, toys, all that kind of thing, we can always take donations, and that is always super helpful when we're having things coming in, and then we're not having to spend money on buying those items for the animals. So that's always a need. This time of year, I would say our biggest need is fosters, and specifically for kittens. So we call summer, and I say summer because I'm from Pennsylvania, but Charleston summer is not Pennsylvania summer. So our summer is like April to October.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but that's when kittens are being born, and because we have still so many cats that live outside, either they're feral or inside outside cats that haven't been spayed or neutered, we just see this burst of kitten births, when it is warm outside, which for us is a very long time. So
Yeah.
I know in the shelter in our care right now, we have a couple hundred kittens already, and this is really like the early part of kitten season. That's just going to get worse as we get into the next couple of months, and we just simply don't have the capacity for all of those kittens in the building. And then we also know that being in a cage, especially when you're teeny tiny and your immune system is compromised, that's not a great situation. It's not great for their socialization or for their health. And so, if we can get them out of those cages and into a home, that is so much better for them and their development. So, right now, if anyone's been thinking about it, we need kitten fosters more than anything. And of course, if kittens are not your thing, we do have, if you're looking to volunteer, we always have volunteer opportunities, and that can be with the dogs, it can be just
Mhm.
doing laundry, all kinds of different volunteer needs that we have. And then we do have dog fostering too, but we have this really cool program called Paws Around Town. It is considered a foster program, but it's just typically for a day. So it's basically like a doggy field trip. You
Mhm.
come in the morning, you get a pup, and you take them out and about for the day and then bring them back. And that is just to give them a chance to get a break from the chaos of their cage and the shelter environment that we know can be really stressful and affect them behaviorally. So it's a really good break for them and a chance to get some new enrichment.
Mhm. Yeah, you all do such a fantastic job as an organization of there's so many different services you provide, number one, but number two, so many different ways you try to help the animals. I know Nora has been there where you all have had like reading to the dogs to see
Mhm.
how they respond to that. And just you all do a lot of innovative things that is just if anybody's not familiar with your organization, they gotta check you out. I wouldn't have you on here saying, "Hey, this is a place to donate to help," if it wasn't somewhere that I just truly believe in the stuff that you all are doing. And
Thank you.
really, right now, you all are doing, I think, one of the coolest fundraisers I've seen. And this is the Hank and Laurel Greer Life Saving Raffle that takes place with you all. And I believe the fundraiser ends on July 15th, correct?
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit more about the details of that fundraiser or what people could win with the donations they make?
And I guess I could preface that by saying July 15th, or if tickets sell out before that, it
Got it.
would
Got it.
close early. Um, but yes, so this is the 10th time we're doing this. And before I talk about the prizes and that kind of fun stuff, I do have to give a shout out to Hank and Laurel Greer, two of the most incredible individuals I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. They formerly served on our board of directors, both served in the board chair role, and just truly are two of the biggest supporters we have at Charleston Animal Society. And so they so very kindly, what they do is they purchase these cars with their own money, then they donate them to Charleston Animal Society to raffle off as a fundraiser, and this is their 10th time doing that. So, amazing. We could not do what we do without people in our community like them, and so appreciative for them. But yeah, it's this really cool fundraiser that we do. We have a fancy car. I wrote it down because I didn't wanna get it wrong because 'cause I'm not a car girl. But it is a 2026 Toyota Grand Highlander Platinum Hybrid All-Wheel Drive Max.
That
Um,
is a vehicle.
it is a long name. Um, but basically you can buy a raffle ticket. They scale in price, so to just get 1 ticket, it is $100, but then basically the more tickets you buy, you kind of get a discount if you buy multiple. And then obviously if you win, the grand prize is the car, which is amazing, and that's what everyone wants. But we have started in the last few. It used to just be you just got the one winner, got a car, but we wanted to incentivize folks a little bit more. So now we've added even more prizes. So even if you don't get the first place prize of the car, we have cash prizes then for second through sixth place. So second place would win $6,000. Third place would win 4,000, fourth place 2,000, and then both fifth and sixth place would win $500. So six opportunities to win something, which
And
is pretty cool.
yeah, and your money's going to a great cause. And Kylie, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I have listeners that are not from South Carolina. There have been people that have won on these raffles that are not South Carolina residents, correct?
Yes, we have had multiple, people win from out of state, and I will say, and I apologize because I don't know the exact statistics, but I believe it was, like, the first 3 or 4 that we did, the people that won had only purchased 1 ticket, which is ki which is kind of crazy when you think of the odds of it all, and I don't know,
Yeah.
we've done so many now that I've kind of lost track of that, but yes, we've had people from out of state win. We have a big social media presence so
Hmm.
people can buy tickets from wherever they're at. And then, yeah, if you win, you get to come down and claim your car. And then you just have a trip to Charleston, you know?
Which is an awesome place to come visit. So,
Exactly.
great location. Before we jump into the top five portion of this episode today, is there anything else that you want people to know about Charleston Animal Society?
Really just I think the biggest thing, and it sounds silly, but just that we're there and we exist. I feel like so many times, and I notice this with my birthdays, so many times when I have kids come and the guest parents are like, "I didn't even know you guys were here. I didn't know you existed. I didn't know you had programs for kids." So I think sometimes even with a big social media presence and everything, I don't know, some folks just aren't familiar of the world of animal sheltering and what they do. And so, just come visit us is really what I would say. We have a newly acquired partnership. We now have a second location. So
Hmm.
we have a North Charleston campus and a Berkeley campus. So two shelters full of animals. And if I could give any pitch at all, it's just, if you're thinking about adding a pet to your family, I would love to encourage you to check out a shelter or a rescue or a place nearby. Come to Charleston Animal Society if you're local, but even if you're not local and you're somewhere else, check out your local shelter because there are just so many really wonderful, amazing animals that just need a second chance. And that is what we're there for. So I would love to hear more people just, expanding their knowledge on sheltering and animal welfare and choosing to adopt their animals and taking that route to get their pets.
Yeah, I love that plug. So both of our dogs are rescues. One from Charleston Animal Society, one was from another rescue down here, and two of the best dogs I've ever had. And like I always say, you can't go wrong with a dog that you're a dog that you're saving, you're adopting. They have the best dispositions. They're just fantastic. So I'm with Kylie. If you can adopt, adopt. That's the route to go. So really the main event of today's episode was getting to hear about Kylie's work, getting to hear about Charleston Animal Society. But for those that listen, you all know we do a top five. So since we have a woman here today who is on the front lines of educating the next generation about animals, our list today is our top five favorite animals. And if you're a first time listener, here's how this whole podcast works. So each of us have put together our own list for our top five favorite animals. My wife and I have a prediction on something on Kylie's list. I won't say it till we get there. But she doesn't know a thing about my list, and I suspect she's gonna be like, "What are you even talking about?" as I go through my top five. But Kylie will kick things off. She'll give her number five and why. I'll give my number five and why, and we'll work our way until we get to each of our number ones. So with that, Kylie, I'm gonna kick it to you. What is your number five favorite animal?
My number 5. Okay, first, I'm gonna preface with your animals are probably so much cooler than mine because this was one of the hardest things. I love like, put any animal in front of me, and it's
Mhm.
my favorite animal in that moment, right? I love all animals, and so it was so very hard for me to pick, and so I feel I did go a little bit basic, but as a humane educator, I strongly believe, and one of the reasons I believe in what I do is that positive experiences influence us, and so a lot of these animals I picked were because of, like, it reminded me of moments and times or that kinda thing, if that makes sense? Um, so on that note, I just got back from San Francisco, and in San Francisco, I had the ability to see a probably close to 200 sea lions
Oh, okay.
just basking in the sun. And I could have sat there for 24 hours straight. I that's just it's what I love. I love to travel, and
Mhm.
every time I travel, I'm like, "What animal thing can I find in this location?" And so I went to the pier, I did the tourist trap just so I could see these adorable sea lions, and they were better than I imagined. They're all so large, and I love to laugh, so, like, the way they flop and move, had me giggling, and I don't know, they cracked me up, they were magnificent, it made me happy, and so, just from that recent experience, I put them in the number 5 position.
I love how you came in and you were like, "I'm gonna go with a basic list." That is not I wouldn't consider that a basic animal. That is awesome. Like, that's such a cool experience. My experience, not gonna be as cool for my number 5 as yours. So my number 5 is a tribute to the state that Kylie and I both live in, and it is the alligator is my number 5. So when I first moved down to South Carolina, I encountered my first alligator while hiking during COVID by myself. This thing was like 10 feet long, and I was terrified. But since that time, my fear has grown into a healthy dose of respect and honestly, some awe for these animals. So I'm a nerd, and I admit, like most kids, I was obsessed with dinosaurs growing up. And
Yeah.
alligators are basically modern day dinosaurs. You can look up all the stats on them. Things like, I mean, they've got some crazy bite pressure. They can be up to 15 feet long. These apex predators, we got to give them a wide berth when viewing them in the wild. I cannot stand when people are running up trying to touch them or trying to feed them. Don't do that. Don't mess with alligators in that way. View them from a distance. They're cool to
Mhm.
watch. They're cool to see basking in the sun. I feel like actually a couple animals on my list have a bad PR team. They're really cool animals that because people do some silly things, they get a bad rap. But I say give them some space, don't feed them, don't take your pets right up to bodies of water, and you're going to be all right. Leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. So my number 5, I just love watching alligators. My wife and daughter would tell you anywhere we go, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, will we see a gator today?" It is not worn off on me, the idea that I get to see them. So my number 5, not as cool or as cuddly as, what you listed, but that's my number 5. So Kylie, I do have to ask, being down here since 2017, Do you like the alligators or are you, like, freaked out by them?
Oh, no, I love them.
Oh,
And
yes.
I
Yes.
like s my problem is I hear so many people see them. I've had maybe 2 or 3 encounters, truly, and I'm like, "How am I missing all the gators?" Because I want to see them. I'm, like, seeking them out from a safe distance, of course, but I always am like, "Where are the gators?" Because I hear about them, and
I
I've
I'm
seen a
gonna
couple. I have,
I'm gonna
but
give you a recommendation if you haven't
okay.
been here. Call Call. Have you
Call,
hiked at
call,
Call
yep.
Call?
I
That's where
have
I've seen a lot.
once,
Okay.
but I think it was not the right season is the thing. So, I need to go again.
Yeah, this time of year, I think we're in gator mating season at the end of
Mhm.
May through early June. I think that's when I've been out, that's when I've seen the most is when it's
Yeah.
mating season because they're out trying to meet a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So,
Yeah.
alright. What was your number 4 on your list?
Okay, my number 4, and this one doesn't have a fun story, um, but the fennec fox, and so I don't know if you're familiar,
I'm Googling it now.
but just, like, one of the most absurdly cute things I've ever seen. They kind of, like, give a vibe of a mythical creature for some reason to me or, like, a cartoon, like, just one of those things that it's, like, way too cute to actually be real, um
Oh
and
my goodness.
they're the only, like, canine related animal in my list, even though I
Okay.
love dogs, I love dogs, but, they have some obviously, they're in the fox family, so they have
Yeah.
some similarities, but anyone who knows me from, like, working in the shelter, my absolute favorite dogs are always the ones with big ears, and I don't know why, but it's just something I love a German Shepherd, a Chihuahua, like, a Corgi, something with big pointy ears. Well, a fennec fox has that, like, times 100 with their ginormous ears. So, 1, they're just so adorable, but 2, they're also really fantastically amazing. We do lessons sometimes on, like, animal adaptations, and they are a great representative that, they live in the desert, obviously, and because they have their monstrous ears, they can hear really, really well, so they can hear, like, insects tunneling in the ground,
Oh,
feet
wow.
below them in the sand because of that. The ears also help with cooling. They have, like, extra fur on their paw pads so they don't burn their little feet in the sand. They build underground burrows. They're like, if you anyone wants to look into it, like, their adaptations to live in this very harsh, extreme environment that they live in is really, really fantastic. So they're a great thing just to learn about because of all the cool things that their body does to help protect them, but then they're just absolutely adorable on top of it, so
When I Googled them, the second photo that pops up, I'm gonna probably mispronounce what the site is, but it's from Animalia.bio, and
Okay.
it is the cutest thing I have ever seen. Like, it's got its ears back, it's walking on the
Mhm.
sand. Honestly, until you said the desert, I was like, "This is the beach. This is great." I thought it was nearby. That thing looks adorable. This time, our number 4, I'm gonna kinda be consistent with you because I feel like my number 4 is adorable as well. And I really was tempted to just say, like, monkeys or primates overall, and I
Mhm.
was like, "No, I'm gonna go with a specific species." And Kylie, I'm curious if you're familiar with squirrel monkeys.
Oh my gosh, I am, and I won't give it away, but
Oh,
I'm in line with you kind of a little bit
okay,
on my
okay,
next one, but
okay.
yes, tell me more.
So, squirrel monkeys, for anybody that doesn't know, they're these adorable little primates that are only about 10 to 15 inches long. I saw my first squirrel monkey at the Beast City Zoo in Cottageville, South Carolina. And if you are not driving while listening to this episode, Google a photo of a squirrel monkey and you are not going to be disappointed. They are actually considered by scientists to be one of the smartest primates that exist. Their squirrel name comes from their speed and agility, and they live in troops of up to 500 members, which that's way too many people for me. But these cool little guys, they're omnivores. They live off insects, spiders, fruit, small vertebrae, nuts, seeds, flowers, and tender leaves. And as much as I have loved getting to see these things when I went to B City, I couldn't leave them off my list. I think they're adorable. That's my number 4. Kylie, I know you said it kind of dives into your list, so I won't ask your thoughts on squirrel monkeys. I'll just kick it to you for your number 3.
Yes, this is crazy because my number 3, if you're not familiar, you have to Google it now that you said squirrel monkey. So my number 3 is the crowned lemur, which kind of looks like if a squirrel monkey and maybe a spider monkey or, like, some type of smaller monkey and a cat were combined into one. It's kind of what I'm maybe not the most
You
accurate,
no, no,
but
no, you just gave the
that
best description that you could give for these. I had to Google it to see if it was what I was thinking it is. No, you're 100% accurate on this. But you go ahead.
uh
Why else do you like them?
Yeah, so this is another one that's just, like, rooted in an experience that I have that stuck with me. One time I was traveling with my husband, we were in Durham, North Carolina, he had a work thing, and I needed to entertain myself for the day, and I somehow stumbled upon, because this is what I go looking for, the animal things, I somehow stumbled upon the Duke Lemur Center
Okay.
and just, like, showed up. They let me take a tour, and I was so mesmerized. So, lemurs as a whole are an endangered species.
Mhm.
Part of that is because people think they're so cute and have tried to, involve them in the pet trade and
Yeah.
whatnot. So what they're doing at Duke is a breeding program to try to prevent the species from going extinct, and they have all kinds of lemurs there. There's many species of lemurs, but I think the crowned was my favorite. And it was just one of those things, I don't know how to explain it other than it stuck with me, and this was before I even worked in humane education and didn't even realize that the person giving my tour probably was a humane educator, and she did her job because all the things she told me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love these things." I bought, like, 10 things from the gift shop. I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." She talked about how they train them, so if you're familiar with the area, there's lots of woods, and so this
Mhm.
center is literally in the middle of the woods. And she talked about how they had, through positive reinforcement, trained the lemurs that they would set them free from their enclosures. They go play in the woods, unsupervised, and then they have a special sound and they come back and they put themselves back in their cages. And that was just at the time that I had this tour before I worked more closely with animals was just wild to me that that was a thing that they wouldn't just run off or never be seen again and was a great introduction into how positive reinforcement training works. But yeah, I just literally was so fascinated and just like the other two, like also they're adorable. So,
I may have just added a place that, my family needs to go check out. I feel like I've
it's a
heard of them before, like, in passing, like, looking up like, because we do a lot of traveling for animal experiences. We were down in Crystal River last year and, got to kayak with the manatees, and then I actually took the girls to Cumberland Island this year to see the wild horses that exist on the island. So, we're big on traveling to see different animals and in their natural environment, and, this might be a place I need to go check out. So, Kylie,
highly
my
recommend.
my number 3, probably I'm going away from we've been on this stretch of, like, cute animals, and I'm going away from that. But this one is extremely special to me, and I'll be honest, I almost put it number 1, but it bumped back down to number 3 just because my top 2 couldn't be beaten. And I've gotta give the personal reasons it's my number 3 first, and then this one, I apologize, I have some facts on this one, but my daughter has been training in jujitsu since the end of 2023, and one of the nicknames that she's been given at 2 different gyms she's trained at is the octopus, and it's due to her long legs and her ability to use them like a second set of arms. So the idea of the octopus is endearing to me, but the creature is just phenomenal. So it's my number 3. One, this is the smartest invertebrate in the entire world. Scientists have discovered that each arm actually has its own mini brain. They escape aquariums and containers. They can distinguish humans from one another. They've been known to open childproof bottles, and they have demonstrated both short term and long term memory. And because I'm a nerd, I looked it up and I have a couple things that back up these findings. One lab noticed that all of their fish were going missing, so they set up a video camera. They found out that the octopus was freeing itself from its tank, going to the tank with the fish, opening it, eating all of the fish, closing the lid, going back to its own tank, and hiding the skeletons of the fish to hide the evidence. The Pacific striped octopus actually uses scare tactics to hunt. They will sneak up on things like a shrimp, tap it on its shoulder, and when the shrimp leaps away from the arm that touched it, they'll be waiting with their other arm. Octopuses are one of the few animals who've been known to use tools, including building dens with shells to protect themselves. I've seen videos of where one octopus was fighting another and it was throwing seashells, which was both amusing and just impressive to see. In one study, they found that the common blanket octopus would carry Portuguese man of war tentacles and would use them as a weapon against other animals. And the reason they do that is they are one of the few animals immune to the painful venom of the Portuguese man of war. And these creatures prefer to live in a solitary environment, which for people that know me, that's me. I don't go out places. I'm a very solitary dude. They've been known to decorate their shelters with shells and other things, just making it their home. And finally, if you're not convinced as why this animal is so cool, they're basically aliens on Earth, which is pretty cool. They can regrow their limbs if they lose one. They change their color and texture to blend into their surroundings. They can do this as quickly as 0.3 seconds. And most people don't know this, they carry a neurotoxin to stun and kill their prey. And while most octopus that you would encounter don't have anywhere near the neurotoxin to harm a human, there is one called the blue-ringed octopus, which is neurotoxin is 10,000 times more potent than cyanide and could unfortunately kill 26 people at one time. So now
Wow.
that I have bored every single person with how big of a nerd I am, including Kylie, I will stop gushing about octopus. Like these creatures are just amazing, and I'll hand it to you for your number two.
Absolutely. Have you read Remarkably Bright Creatures or just watched the movie that
Okay,
just came
so
out?
no, we've got the movie saved on our Netflix,
Okay.
and here's the
Yes.
problem. It looks really sad, and we were gonna watch it, I think, on Mother's Day, and my wife was like, "No, this looks really sad," and we haven't had the ability to watch it, because we're all afraid we're gonna cry, and, I mean, I'm assuming you've read the book and seen the movie?
I have, yes.
Will we cry if we watch this movie?
Um, maybe, but I think
Yes, okay.
it's not I wouldn't call it sad. I would say it's inspirational too. I mean, sad things happen, but I think it's handled in a positive light, if that makes any sense. And definitely the book gives you more in depth about
Mhm.
octopus. So you'll definitely get more insights about the species in the book than the movie, but the movie's fantastic as
I am going to use this podcast episode to sell my wife and daughter on watching this movie. That's
well.
what we're gonna do. So, I appreciate you, selling that for me.
Of course.
What did you settle on for your number 2 animal?
Okay, my number 2, it's kind of a group, but I can get specific, but I'm gonna say a sea turtle is my number
Oh,
2.
that's a good one. Okay.
I'll say the loggerhead if I have to be really specific, but truly all of them. Shout out to the loggerhead because it is our state reptile here in South Carolina. But for some reason, since I was little, I've always loved turtles in general, and I couldn't tell you what sparked that, but like I've always loved them. When I was little, I had stuffed animals and pictures of them on my wall. Like it was always a favorite animal from a young age. But then as I got older and I learned about how truly magnificent they are, that love just grew. And then I moved somewhere where we legitimately have them, living in central Pennsylvania. You can see pictures and everything. But here in Charleston, you can go to the South Carolina Aquarium and see them in the Sea Turtle Hospital and like seeing them up close. Oh my goodness, they're magnificent. And I won't do too many facts, but I do wanna just put some because, like, how sometimes I sit back and you hear these things about animals and you're just like, "How is that possible?" Right?
Yeah.
It makes you feel very small in a big world, but in a good way. But, like with the loggerheads, well, 1, they're prehistoric creatures, so when you're going back to our alligators, they are also a little bit of dinosaurs in their own respect. They've been all around for a very, very long time. And then the fact that the females specifically, so, these tiny little baby hatchlings are born on a beach. They are like the size of a quarter, right? It's like so teeny tiny. Out of 1,000 babies, only one typically makes it into adulthood. So that
Dang.
means like these big ones that we see, if you have the ability to see one or the
Mhm.
privilege of seeing one, like the odds of that animal existing, so very low. So that alone is just magnificent to me, right? That they, like, beat all the odds just to get there. But then from there with the females, no matter how far they travel, through the ocean in their lives, they will always return to the beach that they were born on to lay their eggs. And they do that from some sort of they use the magnetic fields, and, what I was reading is that, like, they believe it's, like, that very first journey, like, when they come out of their egg, there is some type of imprinting that happens where they memorize the magnetic field in that exact location,
Mhm.
and they whether they end up thousands of miles away, are able to find their way back. And as a very directionally challenged person, I just can't even contemplate how that is possible.
I love that you just threw
So,
shade at yourself while praising the sea turtles. That was awesome.
I mean, like, magnificent, and then, to start so little and they get so large, and then just I'm always gonna have a soft spot for animals who struggle in here. I think living here has just made it more obvious because with our pollution and what we're doing to the earth as humans
Yeah.
is really impacting a lot of animals, but here the big thing is the sea turtles, and we're hurting them, and we need to do things to help them. So that just endears them to me, even more because of that. And pretty much every type of sea turtle is endangered, if not critically, and we've already lost a couple. So, but they're amazing. They're amazing, amazing creatures and beautiful. If you can see them up front, it's a pretty amazing experience.
So, Kylie, I'm gonna ask, I'm curious if you've been here. Have you ever been to the Georgia Sea Turtle Center?
I have not.
Okay, so in Jekyll Island, they have the Georgia Sea
Okay.
Turtle Center. They have a behind the scenes tour you can do. And with the behind the scenes tour, you actually get to go into I guess the right term would be the operating room. And it's like whatever procedures they're doing that day, you'll get to see those live. If they are giving like their medications and things to the turtles, you'll get to see that. And then they will take you around and they will, I mean, obviously from a distance, but you get to meet the different patients they have there. So I feel like you might need to head down to Jekyll Island based on your number two
Absolutely.
and go check this place out. And they do, so I'm putting a plug in here for them. I've been there. They do a fantastic job. Their staff is super knowledgeable, really making sure that people are taken care of while doing the behind the scenes tour. So for you or for anybody else that's interested in sea turtles, I cannot recommend them enough. Great animal rescue. They obviously try to release the turtles back into the wild if they can. And then I think they have I believe there's some there that obviously can't be released or anytime soon due to the severity of their injuries. But we learned a lot and it was really cool to be in the operating room and getting to be so up close and personal, just a few feet away from these magnificent creatures. So fantastic number two, Kylie. I like it a lot. Uh, my number two, you went from this magnificent creature that is like just loving and, everybody loves them. And my number two, probably controversial, is the shark. And it is my second apex predator on my list, which maybe that says a lot about me. Kylie, when you were growing up, did you ever have a kid in your class that would spout off way too many facts about something and deep down you were like, please stop sharing?
Yes.
That was me about sharks growing up. So, growing up, I would digest every book, every bit of information I could about sharks. I could tell you about their anatomy. I could tell you how they hunted, how far away they could smell blood in the water. I was not scared of them. Up until probably high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. And I wanted to be a marine biologist and I wanted to study sharks. That's what I wanted to do. I saw Jaws and I blamed the mayor of the town. He was the villain to me, not the shark in the movie. Shark Week on the Discovery Channel was basically my version of March Madness as a kid. I was obsessed. And most of my childhood summer memories were Shark Week. That's what I remember. I think this is a creature that gets a lot of bad PR. Are there some sharks that are highly aggressive, like a bull shark? Absolutely. But most sharks, I'd say the large majority, have zero interest in humans. We're not what they're looking for. We're just hanging out in their world. We entered their world. Speaking generally, just so many cool species of sharks. I mean, you got crazy looking ones like the hammerhead shark. You've got the whale shark. And you've got the shark that terrifies most people that it just touches heartstrings on me, the great white shark. It's my favorite. Even to this day, if I go to an aquarium, I'm going to tell you, I'm not looking at the other things. I will look at the sea turtles second, But what I'm looking for first is, where are the sharks? Where are they at? I want to see them. I was at the beach last weekend. What was I doing? Looking for shark's teeth. I am still obsessed today. I'm a shark nerd. Some might call me a shark apologist. So they're my number two. Kylie, I gotta ask, do you like sharks? Are they something that you have any appreciation for, or are they ones that you're like, no, please stay away?
So I have an appreciation for all animals. I
I
truly,
like that.
truly
Okay.
do. I will say, biggest fear. My biggest fear in the world is a shark. So it's really
Oh,
funny that you
really?
said that because I saw Jaws and I was afraid to get in a swimming pool. Um, I think it's more like it's not so much the creature as like I think it's combined with the unknown of like the under the water,
That's
like
fair.
that fear of like I don't know what's under me, you know what I mean? That something could sneak up on me in a way that
Yeah.
I would not be expecting maybe. But no, if I see a Shark Week ad, I like squeal and quick click away as fast as I possibly can because it scares me.
Oh, I love them so much. Well, here, let's not scare you anymore. Let's move on from me bringing up your fears. I apologize.
No,
What
that's
was
fine.
your number one animal on your list?
All right, my number 1, I feel like it's very basic, and I feel like when you started at the beginning of you saying you had a guess, I'm sure you probably know, I wear it on my sleeve, literally most of my clothes have this on it. Anyone who knows me will know what I'm gonna say, and it might be lame, but I don't care. It is the domestic cat.
This is what our
And
prediction was.
and it will forever and always be. Not only do I feel like I am a domestic cat in spirit, just we align in so many ways, but I just well, I have 4 in my house right now that would be very upset if I didn't say that they were my number 1. But I just have such a true appreciation for what they are as creatures, and they fascinate me every single day, and I truly just can't get enough of them. Like, they are so highly intelligent. They are so silly, like, they just and I stand by this, like, when we have our animal interactions, like, at the shelter with the kids, they love the puppies, they love the bunnies, they love every animal. They might squeal more over the puppies, but when it comes to the giggles, it's always the cats. Like, they just do the most ridiculous things. They do their little poof up when they get scared or playful, and they gallop around and roll like, they just do the most silly, absurd things, but yet they have that side, and then they also have that, like, intelligent, independent, I can take care of myself kinda thing, which I just truly love and respect. Like you mentioned earlier, I am also an introvert at heart, and so I really relate to that, like, I will say cats get a bad rap, I believe. Some people think they don't love their humans or they're, like, too independent. My cats would like to say otherwise, but what a cat does is it has a very small circle, and that
Yeah.
the people they love endlessly, and then they're just, like, not really into others, and I can kind of relate to that a little bit. In my personal life, in my professional life, I love to be friendly to everyone, but
I can
on
vouch for
my
that.
own
I can vouch.
time um, so I love that, and I also just love in my work more than anything, the amount of times I hear both adults and children say, "I hate cats, I don't like cats." You never hear people say that about dogs. I love dogs too, but I feel like dogs already get all the love, and I think just people don't understand and appreciate cats, and I think if they learned a little bit more about them, they would. Dogs have been domesticated for a much, much, much longer time than cats
Mhm.
have. They are much newer to being pets, which is why they are a little more independent and self-sufficient. But it is also why, they're not needing to be right next to you all the time. But I think I enjoy that aspect of them. And when people say they don't like cats, I'm like, okay, that's kind of a red flag because I think cats are all about boundaries and consent. And if I say no, I mean no. And
This is the
I
best.
like that.
This is the best argument for cats I've ever heard in my life. Like, you it's like 10 toes down. You are like, you are gonna like cats by the end of this.
Oh, my coworkers joke, like, I my one coworker never had cats, before meeting me, she has 2 now, and is, like, on her way to being a cat lady, and, like, I say the same thing with my kids, like, if it's a week of camp and they tell me on day 1 they don't like cats, I say, "Talk to me on Thursday, because I bet I can change your mind."
So, I will tell you, Kylie, we do not have any cats in my house. I grew up with cats. I have developed like, I guess, an allergy to cat dander as I've gotten older.
Mhm.
So, I took my wife and daughter for Halloween a couple years ago to one of these places that did, like, a cat tea house or tea shop. I don't really know what it was,
Yeah.
but the cats were dressed up, and you got to wear your costumes and feed the cats. I won't lie, I left with so many hives on me that I was like, "I need
Oh,
Benadryl."
no.
So, they're cats are not my number 1, but,
That's okay.
you
I understand.
you named my number 1, and I hope we're not gonna have beef over this, but my number 1 is the dog, and it's so I like that we both went very generic for our number 1s. I have been blessed in my life to have some of the best dogs ever, and my wife and I, we each had Chihuahuas when we first got married. They lived to be, I think, 18 and 15, so they were around for a long time. I mentioned we have 2 rescue dogs right now. Minnie was the one we got from Charleston Animal Society, and when we adopted Minnie, she was part of an animal cruelty case when she was seized. And I won't lie, like, in the back of our mind, we're like, "Oh, okay, that's, what will her demeanor be?" At first, she was a little timid because of the experiences she had had, but I can say that dog is the sweetest, most loving, and best dog I've ever had in my entire life. She knows no stranger. She also knows no personal space. She will be right in your face 24/7. So if you were now, I'm like Kylie, I'm an introvert, so I say if somebody were at my house, nobody really comes to my house, but if you were at my house, Minnie is going to be in your grill. And Kylie would probably say the same thing about cats. I think as humans, we don't deserve dogs. They're loyal companions. They just want some food. They want a little bit of love, maybe a belly scratch. And I could sit here and wax poetically all day long about dogs and how they're just the best creatures we can meet. But I'll just wrap it up. That's my number 1 animal for me. Kylie, I always ask people when we wrap these lists up about any concerns on my list or beef that they have with my list. And I got to ask, do you have problems with me having dogs on my list instead of cats?
I absolutely do not. No.
Okay. I thought you
I
were going to say I absolutely do. And I was like, here we go.
I mean, I would still argue cats are better, but no, I would not work where I do if I didn't love all
Yeah.
animals, and would just like to second that, like, I absolutely agree, like, animals impact our lives in such a way that there's science to back it up, but I think in even more ways than we even understand. The emotional bonds that we
Hmm.
form, with them is so life-changing, and so I think any animal you share your life with, I get that bond, and so you have dogs, it makes sense that that's your number 1, and it makes sense that mine are cats
Yeah.
because these animals, they, like, impact our lives so greatly, so
And I'm going to tell you, Kylie, this is something I remember from years ago. You have like cat shoes too, right?
if it exists in a cat version, I probably have it,
I'm
you
pretty
know?
sure I remember being at one of the events and I was like, "She is rocking some cat shoes. Like, this is dope." So, um, Kylie, I know you have a very busy schedule. You are out there on the front lines helping educate the next generation about animals, helping, educate people about your organization, and hopefully getting people, to be more empathetic to animals and help keep some of these animals off the streets. So I really appreciate you coming on here, providing information about the incredible work that both you and Charleston Animal Society are doing. So thank you so much for coming on here and giving us some of your precious time today. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, I love doing it, I love to hear your top 5, and just thank you for asking and sharing the word about Charleston Animal Society, it really means a lot to help us get the word out there, so
Yeah,
thank you so much.
you're very welcome. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode. If you've not done so yet, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, refer somebody else to come check this podcast out. As I always say at the end, if you have suggestions for a topic you'd like us to cover, you can send those in to generationalfave5@gmail.com. That's generational, FAVE, the number 5, at gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in.